yeah, I don't feel so talkative these days. Um, but yeah, reading the signs has helped me a lot in the past, and yeah, I catch it very quickly as I've learned by now in which ways the universe is most easily communicating with me. So for in my case, it's most of the times animals a lot, and the meaning of the animals. So this week after my dad was passing, I had two snakes visiting me on one day.
Wow.
And like a grasshopper right in my bathroom, like a few outside, and one really, really annoying me, sitting literally on the toilet and be like, what do you want, grasshopper? And also like billboards, like in Bali, we sometimes think, well, the Balinese, they're so creative. But yeah, these billboards, there are like big time messages. Like I was seeing suddenly 2 weeks ago, these pictures of I don't know if you've seen them around. There are a few like really old, wrinkled Balinese ancestors, and they're like on huge, like 6 meters walls. And of course, it's for me all like looking into the ancestral line of my family and the wisdom that's there. And yeah, today I was passing by in Penistan and had a glimpse on one side and said the storm is passing soon. I think it was one of the cafes at Bella. I was like, okay. So it's in a way, I think since I trust it more, I don't even need it 3 times to jump into my face. I think it's a little bit faster. But like the example I think that Miriam shared with the glasses, I think these sometimes take even longer, the most obvious ones. It's really interesting. Or like just now before the tea, that's why I was a minute late. I had piled up some dishes in my kitchen for like 2 days, and I had thought nothing about it. It's like, well, I do it another time. And usually, yeah, it's not a big deal. I just do it intuitively. But just now, before I dressed up in the ceremony clothes to get ready here in time, I just had the real urge, I need to clean those dishes. And I feel that every time when I'm in touch with you guys, or something gets cleaned up. And yeah, I've been grieving a lot this week and having a hard time getting out of bed and feeling just very tired. So yeah, it was literally my shit was literally standing in its own water like for days, and I didn't clean things up. So now I'm going to water purification, so it seemed like the right thing to do. It was really a real urge to do that. And yeah, so
First
there's like
issues
this
and
one.
then yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, exactly. So Hannah has been practicing reading signs and living in harmony with the universe for quite some time, and yeah, and then you don't need those 3 signs anymore, and you see that literally wherever you turn your head, what you need to know, you will, and you have this feeling that comes associated that, okay, I get it. There's a feeling that comes, an inner knowing that comes, an interpretation of putting things together.
It is literally another sense that starts developing itself, and then we start relying on it more and more.
Mm-hmm.
It becomes our second nature.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, like even the day my dad I have a book with prayers of the Course of Miracles, and I opened it, and it was a passage like a prayer for the ones who passed. So I was literally telling to my friend like, oh, I think something's brewing. So it's not that I can predict, but it's like I can see it coming in a way.
And your
Or
connection.
when I meet people who are super annoyed or loud, and I know, oh wow, something is not right with me, and I need to tune myself.
Exactly. Yes. Well, good that you mentioned the book, because that's also a very good source of, for us, it works every time, and completely spot on. When you don't know what to do, when you don't know what the topic is, or you just don't know where to start, open any book at any page and read the first thing you see. You'll be surprised how relevant it is. Of course, the most elevated the book, the most likely you'll have a clear sign.
Although it can be just a newspaper.
Yeah.
But what's important is to actually ask the source to come up with a message. You just don't open, because it can be answered to anything that you have in your head. So it is asking first, okay, show me what I need to know right now about the given situation, and then it actually answers to your current question. So this is how to be more precise about it. And of course, our friends in Damanhur have developed very sophisticated method in reading the messages from random newspaper ads. So it's really very sophisticated methods exist, and at some point, if you're interested, we will share those.
Yeah, so for now, most of people are in the big and very obvious and very loud signs, which usually are best expressed through relationships. We all know because emotions are involved and we can't really walk away from the situation readily. So that's where we have to look for the biggest and deepest signs that we are telling ourselves about.
Yeah, so really the topic of the session today is continuation of reading the signs of the universal language that we call, but how it comes through people. And this is really getting very, very intense, because literally everybody that we have in our life is there to deliver a message, everyone. And depending on how they relate with us, the message is more on the surface or more at the deeper level. So what we're going to be covering today is 3 main categories of people and how we read messages from them and how they influence us. The 3 categories will be our family members, and they are there to trigger really deep core attachments, lifelong issues and lessons. Number 2, partners, romantic partners and business partners, and they are there to trigger situations that are lifelong and deep and not as visible, and deal with communication with another person.
And let's also add another aspect, because it's also not as easy to walk away as from the family, so they offer a pleasant change from the family.
And number 3, it's easiest to read. This is what we would say random, but nothing is random. Random people that we meet in our daily life, in shops, restaurants, while we travel, or who gives us a massage or a service. So random people that we directly communicate with in the daily life. And this is, in a way, easiest to read because we're not attached to them. There are no deep connections, so they are really directly universe speaking through them. So these 3 categories: family, partners, and random people. So this is what we'll be covering today. And at the end, we will give you a little algorithm how to really interpret messages from all of these people with 4 easy or not so easy steps to follow.
So we have to understand that this is a very complex system to integrate, but once you do, it's making life so much easier and faster. Because universe literally speaking to us if we have ears to hear. If we have ears to hear what people are telling us, and if we hear when they're saying normally and without big drama, then we can address the problem straight away. I just wanted to clarify a little bit the concept, because usually when I try to bring up the subject of everybody is our mirror, I get this reaction, but how? My boyfriend is betraying me. How can that be a mirror for myself? I would never do that. I'm not like that. I'm all but that. So the misunderstanding of how is the other person mirror to ourselves usually comes from this misinterpretation of the nature of the mirror. So it's not like the other one would be the copy of ourselves, rather mirroring a part of ourselves that we don't see. So the evil boyfriend usually is highlighting our ugly part that we don't want to see if we're a woman. Or the same for...
So in an example of a betrayal, it doesn't mean, well, it mirrors that I would betray them. It means that there is a concentration of energy around the topic of betrayal. And how we look at that is, how am I triggered by betrayal as a concept itself? And then we zoom out and see what it means to me. So we will go more into detail how to decipher that. But the problem comes, as Evie says, that we usually want to interpret it too directly, whereas it points only to the category of the things that are happening. And we'll give actually concrete examples, yeah? But I think we start with an easiest one, because this is how we get into the topic a little deeper. So what happens when we meet random people in the streets? So none of the people that we meet are random. And what we suggest always to do when we leave the house, to give this command to the universe: may everyone who I meet and speak today bring the divine message to me.
And may I have the ears to hear, because I usually forget that part.
So whenever you give a command, especially if it's a verbal command, the universe immediately responds. So what that means to your subconscious is that you have focused your vision. You put the right glasses, like Miriam has the right prescription to see these things now. So it is like really sharpening the vision on hearing those messages. So messages from random people, would you like to give an example?
So there's a mechanism also how those messages are delivered by universe, because we have this span of 20 minutes within which a true message is actually coming through, not more and not less. Within 20 minutes of exchange, if there was something for you to hear, it's there. So you can slowly examine what was said and see what stands out, what resonates, and what is there. Or if it's a longer exchange with a friend, for example, for a day, well, watch out for the last 5 minutes, just before you close the door, just before you leave, because then the actual person that is about to leave has retracted the personality and already in their heads leaving. And that's the last 5 minutes the universe is using to transmit a message. So last words of someone are usually really for you to hear.
Like if you're in a taxi, it is just before leaving a cab, usually, that the taxi driver will deliver the message. Well, we had an example in Japan, right? When our taxi driver, nobody asked him anything, told us about the temple that he had just taken other tourists in, something like this.
Yeah, so usually this is how we travel. We just allow the taxi driver to speak his personality out, and there's nothing relevant. And just when he has nothing more to say, that's where I ask completely random, unrelated question with the underlying command: okay, universe, if this person knows something that I have to know, let it show. And then he would usually say something: oh, but my cousins came and they really liked that temple, and it's quite different from this course that they usually have. So which we take, of course, as a sign, go there, and of course it has been the thing to.
It was Corfu, I remember that, Japan.
to visit. So how to distinguish when a person is actually having a message from the universe for you? It's because it has nothing to do with everything else they have said. And they don't even clearly recall why they got to the topic and why they said what they said.
Absolutely. They have no idea why they said this. And usually the other person is not even aware that they are messengers to us, because we have put this command.
Yeah. And if you are going somewhere with a particular concern, other people might be confirming, yes, that's the topic you have to be working on. If you are concerned with your hair, for example, then every lady in the restaurant will have either very exuberant hair or comment something on it. So they are usually unconscious enough in a way that they're in the flow and they're not personally interacting with you. So they might have that one word that is very meaningful for you to hear. So don't miss on those messages, because the way they say it, as Anna, you shared last time about the boyfriend who said, don't expect me to be sorry for you, for the broken hand. Well, sometimes it's quite literally a slogan to be heard. Yeah, the actual title of what you need to know.
Mm-hmm. Just for those who were not there, there was a message coming from, so there was like a broken hand or spring wrist, and the message from the partner was, don't expect me to feel sorry for you.
Mm-hmm.
So this is quite a literal message. Yeah, it's
Yeah.
like
That,
a little bit super loud as well.
yeah, you should actually not expect anyone to be sorry, because expectations are not
And yeah, we can go a little bit why these messages even happen. Yeah, so pretty much the universe speaks to us because at some level we are attached to some beliefs, or what we call our inner laws. So what the living in flow with the universe would be is to live in complete flow with complete equanimity, and not really triggered by things, but actually flowing through life inspired by the miracles of each day, day by day. Yeah? But because we hold those family values, society values, a lot of things that we wanted to work on in this lifetime dear to our hearts, well, we have to have somebody to break through those attachments so that we can go back to this equanimity and flow with ease with life. So that's actually the underlying principle why this even happens. So anything else to say about the random people? Would we give some example, or we go on to the family and partners?
So for those of you who are traveling, and there's this beautiful uh, sharing of being somewhere in the middle, in between two journeys, and not knowing how and why is it that way. So when we don't know where to go, that's the best way to explore. Just allowing people, just engaging with people for 3 minutes, and commanding before, okay, universe, if I really need to hear something, and allowing it, actually hearing it in a non-specific way, not looking for the person to name a destination where you should go next. So you have to be a little bit more indirect. If you start expecting the answer that the person, the waitress names the destination that you have to go to, don't take it that literally. Take it more of like construct the destination out of what you hear as elements. And it's very useful when you have no plans and you really want to go with the flow. Going through the comments of people will give you a very good map of what's possible for you, and how to move forward. It usually works very well.
So, okay, so this is the messages that come easiest because we are not attached to these people. They don't point to anything much, much, much deeper than our current question. So then we go to a little deeper topic, and this is how our partners talk to us. How we choose partners is already part of it. And then how they speak to us is very, very, very deeply revealing.
Mm-hmm. So the best way were to start examining what your partners or close friends, like same. So how to understand what is their message is going straight to the chapter, what I don't appreciate in this person, what deeply annoys me in their behavior, what do I rather not have in the personality. Like, they're so cool, but this one point is so annoying. So this one point is what you want to look at. That holds a huge hint to to your inner world.
Let's give an example of the employee who felt that she's not seen, so that you
Yeah.
better understand.
So I had a funny babysitter for my children, that Opa girl who came from Latvia, and she was very tiny and very shy, and she came, and literally the first words she said, "Oh, I feel so good here because I just had to leave the previous family where the parents were so not seeing me, not appreciating me, and not estimating me." And I already was a little bit careful, okay. And I asked deeper, and yeah, and everyone before too was not seeing her. And then her partners too were not seeing her, and her family and her father, nobody has ever seen her. And then I looked at her critically, and of course then our family clicked in that same category of not being able to see her. And then I looked at her objectively, and she was quite a pretty girl, but she had beautiful long hair that I never knew about, because she was wrapping them in a sort of turban, and she had oversized pullovers and jackets, and she was wearing like flat sneakers. She was 22. She looked like she's 15, and she was like so obviously hiding. I said, "Oh, well, no wonder that no one can see you for who you are, because do you even see yourself for who you are?" And and she didn't. But when she was brought to look at this first level of the message, why is nobody seeing her, and I invited her to look at her, if she would even recognize what's in those wrappings, then it took her time to unwrap and to reveal herself. But she realized that, of course, she didn't ever give anyone chance to see her. But what is even a bigger message in this behavior of feeling that everybody is underestimating and not seeing you for who you are, is attachment to how things should be, how everybody should see you, how unjust it is that you're not being seen for who you are, how unfair the world is not noticing your beautiful self that you are never showing to anyone. And it all starts with recognizing those deep insecurities which provoke, of course, our favorite victim mentality, and that, you know, the world is not seeing us, rather than us not showing ourselves to the world. So this is the first layer of what can be shown through what you think the world is doing wrong with you. Look at yourself. Are you giving, you know, are you actually...
Are you creating this situation
yeah,
yourself somehow?
creating. If you want to be seen, are you visible? So that is the first level of the mirror. If you want to be appreciated, well, are you being fully out there with all that you are? If you want to be invited, are you making yourself available and even visible to be invited?
I think somehow we have come to this algorithm before I wanted to reveal it, but let's go into it. So that algorithm, how to analyze what happens in relationships with people, it has 4 steps, yeah? So first step is to ask for the person with whom you are interacting, what is your partner's current shortcomings that you see? How are they not acting in a way that you would like, or how are they triggering you? So this is the alarm. Yeah, if you're triggered by something, it's already the alarm. So this is the first question, to look at how is this partner triggering you. The step number 2 is looking around yourself, who else is triggering you in the same way. So if this has to do with betrayal,
yeah, if
your
you
partner
get rid
is
of partner, then look the partners before, or the family, any human interaction. Where else have you seen the same thing happening?
So step number 3 would be to first see, okay, is this a self-sabotage? Am I creating this? So in the example of the woman who is not seeing herself, the question is, are you visible yourself? But also the question number 2 is, are you seeing yourself? So not only are you visible because you are hiding yourself, but also are you seeing yourself? So both of those could be self-sabotage, that you can self-sabotage in both of those ways.
For example, in a non-committed partner, we sometimes in relationship we're blaming that the other person has hard time committing, and we think like we are so committed, so what is the big deal for the other one to commit the same way? Well, more we are sure that we're super committed and this is what we want from life, more we have to actually look deeper. Am I that committed? What I'm committed to? Am I committed to myself showing up fully in the world first to begin with? So examining one's own commitment, if we see shortcoming in somebody else's commitment, that's part of the self-sabotaging layer.
And then step number 4, once that we clear the self-sabotage, then it's non-equanimity. Where am I too attached to my inner laws? So in my own country of Vitória de Janeiro, what are my laws that I'm connected to? For example, am I attached to injustice of people not seeing me? So am I somehow attached to that world must be just to me, and it is not? So why do you want to be seen? Why would you want others to see you, and why would you want to control their behavior if that's not already happening? Is this deeper layer? So the 4 layers again. Number 1 is, what are your current shortcomings? Number 2, looking around, who else has those shortcomings, to see how you're magnetizing it. Number 3, is it a self-sabotage where you can be visible or invisible, or you can also not seeing yourself? And number 4 is, where are you in a state of non-equanimity? So this is the deepest level that points to some deeper unresolved beliefs that can stem from the family, from the country, from culture, from all of that. So what are your inner laws that you are so attached to? So that's that algorithm. And now when we talk about concrete examples, you can kind of follow and see how they reveal themselves.
So these are the layers that you can read everything around you. And when you'll see closer, literally everything falls into these categories. The mirror that others lovingly hold us is pointing to the depths of the concept. The non-equanimity being really the level of mastery. This is what you deal with when you think that you have already worked through being a victim, through expectations and so on.
So let's hear maybe from you guys, what is your current closest person mostly triggering you in?
Or anything at all that you would, you're wondering, what is it telling you?
Before we go into family, let's hear a little bit from you. Where are the current triggers, or anything that you have to add to this?
May I?
Yes, Vicky.
Thank you. In the garden and walking around a little bit. Yeah, so I have this this very interesting problem. I'm working on my next short film, and I have 2 producers that I work with, a producer and a creative producer, and I feel that they are dragging me down in an old school way. They feel like it's their task to I don't know, be in charge and decide things without consulting with me. And when I try to, well, communicate with them about this, they're just attached to this archaic and hierarchical setup that the producer is above the director. So I should I don't know, behave or accept whatever they tell me. At the same time, I am the one who's raising the finances and the budget for this film. So this is a very awkward situation, and I feel that I don't have to stay with them. At the same time, I don't I don't want to have this bad feeling in them and in myself, of course. So it's very tricky right now. It really keeps me alive at night.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, thank you, Vicky. So this is a very typical situation where it's not very obvious, and we forgot to mention that actually these exchanges are going both ways. Sometimes you are magnetized in people's lives to trigger their resistances, and you don't know why are you sticking into a plan which doesn't feel good, and triggering people in being very rigid in the positions. So sometimes it can be only and also about that you have to be the inconvenient truth that shakes somebody's ground. Yeah.
Well, sorry, interestingly, when I talked to very briefly about this situation with another filmmaker friend, she said that, well, I should reflect on it because this is not the first time that I think that I can do others' jobs better and quicker.
Mm.
Mm-hmm.
Well, this is quite a direct message for. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, but I'm just getting into these situations all over again, and this is a teamwork. So, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. This is my weekend of reflection, mostly in the garden, and yeah, I would love to understand it.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
Great.
So here in this example, there are several layers playing out because it's obviously a lifelong message to be retrieved. So first one is that we have to accept of being an inconvenience in somebody's lives. That's just the way it is. It's not like always the others are triggering us, but we are being big time called to shake somebody's rigid structures and over and over again attack them with our ways, and more someone is holding on to their thing, more we feel like, specifically going and hitting there. So we just have to be in peace with it and understanding that this is how we're helping each other by shaking loose those densities, and fine. Then knowing Vicky a little bit, the bigger picture and the patterns that keep repeating, knowing how to do better than others things, which is a fact. Yeah. But because it's a fact, it becomes an opinion, and because it's an opinion, it generates energy, and because it generates energy, it attracts the correction from the universe that just wants to make it really fluid. And that's where our mind actually jams. It's very difficult to explain how it works, that we are obviously facing an unfair situation, and all we can see about ourselves, but I am just wanting it to be fair. What's wrong about being fair? I just want to do it, perfectly. What's wrong about doing things perfectly? Nothing is wrong. So why such an honest and beautiful person as me is always faced with people who are rigid and taking their ways and disrespecting. So what's wrong with me being such a holder of light? Well, nothing is wrong about the principle itself. until it becomes a dogma and personal dogma. So when it becomes a personal dogma, an inner rule, I want fairness, I stand for the fairness. And when we start defending our position, that means there's way too much energy in our noble principle of being good, truthful, efficient, professional, just.
So is
And
there a
this
need?
is a very,
Exactly.
very, very fine line between holding those values freely and just living them and holding them, and having the need to defend them.
So that actually really defines whether you are embodying, do you have actualized principle in your life, or you have to defend it. It means mentally you want it, but it's still not actualized. And this is the core difference between the two. When we read the book and we love something resonates with our system of values, we feel this super alignment with that, but it's still just in the theory, it's in our mind. We love it, but we still don't live it. So the moment you start living it, everything actually flows according to this principle, so you don't have a need anymore to defend it. So this is actually how you know if you are living it, if it is actualized and embodied, or it is still in your head waiting to be actualized. This is very, it's a nuance that is super important. This is how we transmute these situations.
When you are in peace with the concept that you have integrated, you don't have a need to defend it, and you don't even get triggered in that. Many women who are defending their rights of being women actually, are pretty masculine, and they're not that women. They're not embodied women. That's why they find the need to fight for it. Yeah. So that is the difference between embodied and non-embodied. And the question here would be to ask Vicky, how would I like it to be that we all collaborate gently and quietly together under my rules? Yeah. So ask yourself, how would you like it to be? And put a magnifying glass, turn it zoom times 30. Yeah. That's where you can find the answer. Yeah. So unwittingly, behind the beautiful concepts, I'm so just, I'm so fair, I'm so beautiful, I'm so loving and including, actually we hide a little tease of control and wanting to bite anyone who is going against our core principles of everything has to be just and right and perfect. So
thank you. Will we have an embodying session as well?
We will have a session, I know. Yeah, because it's very important. The peace that comes when you embody your own concepts is just cosmic. You are in peace with everything that is, and people can walk over you, and you'll not be bothered anymore in that topic ever again, because you just embody, and you lose any interest in following up on your principle, or even trying to prove or teach anyone anything about it.
Khalil Gibran has a great example of what it is, this freedom, for example. He says that the most unfreedom, the largest unfreedom is fighting for your own freedom. So it means you're not still there, because the freedom is inherent. Nobody can take it from us. If we have to fight for it, it means we already gave it to someone else. So,
and my best friend actually was a beautiful example for that, because she so proclaimed that freedom of everything and everyone, and nobody will tell her what to do, and structures and messages and spam messages, anything, that she spent most of her day fighting for her freedom, deleting spams and locking out people who would tell her what to do, and finally she was free, alone. She had weeded out anything alive around her, and still spending most of her time watching out for who is going to attack her freedom.
So let's hear from somebody else. If somebody else would like to share who is currently super triggering in their life for them.
May I?
Yes.
Well, for quite some time, I feel so triggered with many people around me all the time saying negative and bad things that I starting to wonder if there's something wrong with me. Why am I so triggered by it or annoyed or just I have to go away if somebody says and most of the people say most of the time negative things, and I would like to share some beautiful talks and beautiful energy, but constantly being attacked with with negativeness from everywhere. So I'm trying to understand how I cannot be touched with that and stay in my energy and just when it such happens, I just have the urge to run away, to go, even to be alone with myself and nobody else because I'm fine with that and better than all the time listening to constant nudging, and
Mm-hmm.
saying bad things. And yeah, I'm really triggered with that for quite some time. So
Great.
Yeah. So yeah, so here is one sign, Anna, from where we see you in our screen. You are not even a human anymore. You are just pure light. There's a contour and some white feeling.
Literally a glow around you. Yes.
become a human again.
You don't have to change it because it's all signs, like we said last time.
Oh, really? Then okay.
It points to the fact that you are so focusing on light and positivity and everything that, funny enough, and this is what I'm saying, fine line, super fine line between what is truly a good value and what is polarizing it. So more we focus on love and light and positivity and everything, and more we try to push out away the other balance, more it has to come screaming in, literally, to balance it out, because we are basically, even the angels are half light and dark not meaning something negative, is just the way it is. There is both sides of everything.
Like yin and yang.
Yeah, and to be in that perfect yin and yang, we have to acknowledge that both forces exist, and it's fine. They have to, where you stand for, but you have to find that equanimity. And this is the fourth principle that we said about equanimity. It's really very, very high mastery to recognize and to be able to say to oneself, okay, I've been probably too much into positivity. We don't think it's possible to be too much positive, but yes, it can. When you are so focused on light, and then the dark, has to fight back its place.
There is exactly, there is a belief in that what you have just shared, and belief is that people should not be negative.
Yeah.
But belief that people should not be negative is obviously not true, because if they should not be negative, they wouldn't be. But they are, which means that they actually should be negative. Which, why are they negative, is that this is the part of their journey. And if that's part of their journey, we have to actually accept that they need to go through that part of the journey. So how not to be triggered by that is to fully understand that not everyone is on the same part of their journey. And their not being there yet should not be triggering, really.
Yeah, and actually allowing the life to flow through, because you said you have urge to run away, to isolate yourself and not to see anyone. Well, guess what? By that, you are creating even more energy on that side that needs to be balanced out, and you'll ultimately be dragged into the snake house itself, into the darkest and most negative place to kind of soak you up, soak you in the darkness a little bit, so that you get more color, you know.
Yeah.
So that you
Oh,
get at least half half of the other polarity. So in this case,
we
when
have
you
to live with it. We cannot run away.
yeah, so if you can't run away, that's what you have to see. How can you not run away from negativity? Because accepting that negativity exists and learning how to let it through you, how to let it through you,
That's the point.
Mhm.
That's
to
should
allow the life flow through you without resisting it, positive, negative, and having no opinion about it, having no judgment. Because when we judge people of being negative, we actually it seems unbelievable, yet you can see a very beautiful example of world leaders that everybody hates. Well, they don't die, they don't get sick, they don't nothing ever happens, they prosper and get bigger and healthier by day, of people kind of judging them of being negative. And why is it so? I was wondering for all my life, how does it work that they don't die from all the bad wishes that people are sending them? Well, imagine that when we criticize someone who is negative in our eyes, we're actually giving them our light so that they can prosper, and we're taking that negativity from them to us.
oh,
It's not an exchange, right? So we better leave people how they are. And if we focus too much on someone or something, we enter in an energetic exchange. And so what's ours goes to them, and what's theirs come to us.
And we have in front of our eyes examples of these traps that have been put in front of us to concentrate around certain acronyms and certain world outcomes. I don't want to even name them, but you see them all around you. They are asking us to pay attention to them, which means giving them energy. Literally letting these things flow through you, like Evia says, is the meditation in which you imagine all of the cells of your body to separate and spread. And if you want, they are already made more of space than matter. If you look at the solar system, there are few planets and huge distances between them with just empty space. And the same is with our atoms. Our atoms are more space than matter. So how you meditate to let these things through is that you really allow those life experiences to go through you as if you were a ghost, because they go through those inter-matter spaces. So speaking with someone who would normally trigger you, you allow this experience to completely flow through you, and you imagine that it's a wind. It goes through you and it doesn't really interfere with you.
So what hurts is the meaning that we give. We label this meaning negative, so it starts being negative. What it is at the base is just energy. Yeah, negative is our meaning that we give to it.
okay, thanks.
Yeah, so soak yourself a little bit in the negativity.
I am, because it's not possible to get away. So I am soaked. And now going back to Belgrade, I'm gonna be soaked, big deal.
But you see how you almost went to Cyprus, but they didn't allow you. They had this lockdown for you to kind of learn how to deal with this before you're let to go there.
Yeah.
So
And
take it as a lesson and do it, learn it.
And when you will see that you'll get the lesson, and when the lesson is absorbed, then you can go wherever you want. You don't have to live in the negativity because you don't mind it anymore.
Okay, thanks. Thanks.
Lisa?
Yeah. And mine is a little bit like Anna's, but my experience isn't so much with people that I'm only around 2 people, and I think they're fantastic. And having to go into town, I go and do my shopping at my organic place. It's all cool. The people that work there, they're so onto health and body, and I come away just elevated. And then I have to go to the supermarket and do my host's shopping for her because she's an old lady and she's not allowed out. And that's when it gets, oh God. So I have my cardboard boxes and we all have to stand, you know, kilometers away from each other. And I'm standing there with my cardboard boxes, taking them in. And there was a woman that was 2 people ahead of me in the line. And because it's a small community, people come into the lines and they're like, oh, yeah, hey, Merv, how's it going? Oh, yeah, it's shit, you know, fucking rah, rah, rah. Yeah, everyone knows each other. And this woman, someone had said something and then she took that as her point to be able to start spurting crap. And I wanted to stick my fingers in my ears and I couldn't because I had my cardboard boxes in my hands. I was like, oh my God, I don't want the poison coming in. What do I do? The poison's coming. So I just started singing, oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. It's just, oh my God. So, I know what you mean. Going, just let it pass through. And it's like, I don't want that to pass through. I don't want that energy near me. I don't want my ears reverberating with the frequency that's coming out of her mouth. Oh my God. But anyway, so I sang my way through that experience. It was all fun. And everyone's walking around with their gloves and their sanitizer all over their hands. But within that experience, when we're talking about this thing that happens in threes, it was 2 weeks ago. There's a man that came to this same shopping thing, and he rocked up in a military face mask with a blue suit and his gloves and his boots. And people were just looking at him, and there was a few people that were laughing, and I was like, oh my God. And he triggered me, and I got angry. And now this gentleman has been there every time. I can't believe the randomness that he's been there every single time that I've been at the shopping centre. And the last time that he was there, it was nothing. And it was from that first experience, it was like everyone has their own path. Just be gentle with this man. He is obviously terrified of what's going on or what's not going on, whatever. Just be kind. And by the third experience with him, it was like after this woman just, vitriol, rubbish. I actually, I felt, I don't know, some kind of allegiance with this man that had his mask on inside the shop. So, yeah, so like with Anna, that we're saying with the people that, you know, the triggers and how do you shut it down? How do you let it through? It's like, what do you do when you're actually at a shopping centre and you know, with the choice? Yes, I've got a choice not to be there, but I've also made this choice to get my host, her food and rah. So anyway, that. That's my relationship experience for this week.
Yeah,
So,
well, Lisa, you're
yeah.
dark enough in your screen, so
It's night time.
so I don't think you actually need more of negativity in you, right? But what I can tell you, and it's very valid for everyone to practice, it's a real beautiful exercise that can propel you fast forward in your spiritual journey, is when you hear the lady complaining, and I know at what point it's horrible, I hate it with passion, but it so kept coming to me that I also couldn't always stick my fingers in the but you know what it is actually, when you are faced with these triggering moments, you know, babies crying on the plane, kids hitting your seat when you can't escape from it. So it all comes in these stuck situations when you really can't walk out of it. So what do? You examine, you said there was anger coming to you. Okay, so the least that you can do is to say, I am angry. I am richly angry at this woman, you know, pouring her stories on me. And you recognize, yes, I am angry, I own it, and I release it. Because what it is, it's not about the lady or how she should behave, it's about you feeling something, right? So you just acknowledge what it is that you feel, recognize it, be honest, and release it. You'll see it's completely, and then you have this compassion coming in and saying, well, poor lady, well, she is really trapped, you know, like that's all she can do to express. That's how it is. And what we care about is to get our own reaction out of the way, because we're, you know, our heartbeat is accelerating, not hers.
Yeah, so important part is to actually, and it's actually an amazing situation because you can only release something that you own. So if it came as a triggering, acknowledging it as your own anger allows you to take it for something because you really feel it in this moment, and to literally imagine how the magnetizing power of earth takes it through your feet and takes it out. So allow it to come out so that you stay neutral. And then from that point, you can understand how this works, because what you're triggered by is how these people are interpreting their reality. They are watching, you know, mind washing TV or whatever, and they believe it. And this is really triggering because you don't believe it. But maybe they need to believe it because maybe that's where they are in their current journey. And maybe, who knows, the guy with the mask also cannot stand that lady pouring the word, so he protected himself. So how would that change your perspective? It can be very humorous if you take these things around, you know, like detaching from immediate belief. So the point is to, you know, it's interesting. I was just reading through this process now, through this period now, how it might be impossible for huge amount of people to awaken at the same time, because that might really take out the whole solar system out of balance. And maybe what it's meant to be is for certain people to raise their frequencies, and for those who are not ready, well, to stay there where they are for as long as necessary. So maybe we can inspire some people to awaken, but maybe we cannot really awaken a huge number of people, those who are not ready. So something to think about and reflect, and maybe ask your higher guidance to give some insights about that.
Yeah, and it could be that negative ladies are actually keeping the earth down to, you know, in its orbit. So who knows, maybe they're actually doing a good job, so that other people can one by one raise their consciousness. Well, there are many. Yeah, makes sense.
And try that exercise. I'm really curious how it will work for you next time. So try to release that anger, and then to see how you see them from that neutral perspective once the decision is released. Really curious.
It's almost, well, it's like with singing singing a song, and singing such a beautiful song, but singing anger out through that song. It's like, rather than, and I had actually been singing that song just before then, really happily walking down the street. Oh, what a beautiful, and it wasn't morning, it was just that whatever. But that it's like, oh my God. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Oh. Does that mean I'm releasing?
Well, thank you, Lisa, for gifting us this energy. We all take it. Now we shared part of it.
No, sorry. Oh, what a beautiful morning. Oh, what a beautiful day. Is that better?
Wonderful.
Yeah. So acknowledge, because it's actually important. When the situation comes, use it. Don't let the beautiful opportunity to go away. Use it and see, what am I actually, what's my dogma underneath? That everybody should be positive, or everybody has to see the world how I do. So what am I actually expecting there? And use it, you know, even if you can't act on it right then and there, use it to add to collection later.
Yeah, I think, and it's interesting with you around dogma. It's releasing the dogma that I have around human ignorance. and I haven't quite worked that.
Well, it's easy.
Haven't worked through that one.
It's easy. Your belief is humans shouldn't be ignorant. But how can you be sure that this is truth? Are you completely sure that humans shouldn't be ignorant?
How could it be positive that some people are ignorant? You know,
And what does it even mean, being ignorant? Yeah. So it might be that these people are really so simple-minded and open that they believe into these convoluted ways of manipulation of the consciousness, because they are simply good and open, and they cannot help it by accepting it. You know, like we know how Balinese are really open-hearted, like little children. So whatever comes their way, you know, what we love about them, what we love about those innocent, beautiful smiles that they give them, well, they're equally as children open to being manipulated with every way that comes their way. So, you know, do we love them or do we hate them for that? Or do we understand that this is how they are, we really love them, and we feel that they have to go through the phase that they are manipulated in order to learn to get out of those situations, yeah?
So yeah, this is another way to add to what you don't like about the person, partner, family member, anyone. Take that what irritates you and turn it around and see how could that be actually serving something? How could that be useful? Yeah, because there's always both sides, and we are interested in seeing for everything all the time both sides of the story.
Can I just share one little sign that showed up while you were explaining this? And I loved your explanation that maybe the negative people must be there to hold some balance of the planet Earth. But while you were telling that, there was a little bird coming in front of my nose and just hanging upside down a few times, you know.
Yeah.
Me upside down. That's the first bird I see that way in 2 months that I'm in the mountains, you know. And so as if she told me, just turn things around and look from underneath, you know, a few times, you know, she just hung upside down. So
exactly.
Wow.
That's super healthy to see the things from upside down. How could the opposite be true? Yeah. We're
So
here
thanks a
to
lot.
become more fluid, more receptive, more accepting, more permeable in a way. So we do have to turn things upside down. It's very healthy to look at it. And usually who offers us this upside down perspective is our closest people, children especially, you know, that challenge everything that you believe is true. Invitation to look upside down and take it on.
Yeah,
Well, habit to take, to look from that perspective and from the opposite. How can the opposite be true? Beautiful.
And any other questions? Something that needs explanation, precision? It's a topic that we're so passionate about. We could talk forever, and we have tons of examples. It's very difficult to make it short, but it's a great tool to use in life.
Yeah.
Anything?
We can say a few words then about the family, or we leave it for the next time. How do you feel?
Yeah, we can say a few words about the family. So we have all come to this incarnation with certain task, a lifelong issue to be transmuted. So for some people, they have so much suffered. For example, I'll take my example and my only, so if you can relate to it. It's I know through many readings and shamanic journeys that I have quite suffered through my past lives of things being unjust, being burnt at the stake, for cutting the head for saying the truth. So many incarnations that end up in the same way of being unjustly accused of something. So I come to this incarnation with a huge, would say, prejudice and wound in anything that's unjust. So what happens is that in order to release my need for justice and things being just, I have been given a very just family who would reinforce this basic concept that I would need to work on for my whole life. Yeah. So I've been given super just father and mother who did everything by the rules and gave me those values of how things are done in a fair, honest, and just manner. So I would say, what's wrong with that? Except that then throughout my life, I've been given quite the opposite people. And it seemed like everyone was just challenging and pushing on those buttons and making me feel, oh, this is not just. I'm such a good person. I'm doing so everything in such a good way. I'm always considering everybody else first. So how is this what I'm receiving in return? How is ungratefulness fair in this way? So I was very much stuck on ungratefulness point for a long time until I could see that being just is a virtue until you make it a rule and until it becomes your dogma. So my partner for many, many years was everything, full spectrum in triggering me in every possible way about what's right, what's wrong, what's just, what's fair, in any possible way. And I was so fighting against it. I was saying, like, how is this even possible that me, such an angel, can invite someone who is so unappreciative, so underestimating me, so this and that and that, and the whole 10 piece package of what I felt was not just about it. And it took me literally 15 years to understand that all those things that I was telling about the person had one root. I was always feeling that it's not just. And then tracking it back, understanding that, okay, oh my God, he tried so hard, poor thing. Like he had to show in every possible way that justice is not equality. A sense of justice is not equality until you are in complete peace and you don't have a need to receive it or impose it onto people around. So this is where the family and close people are really taking care of your lifelong task to be transmuted. And you're the last person that will ever see that this is what you have to work on, because it seems so, but it's not a bad thing. How should I transmute? So should I be unjust then? And then we hop onto the other ditch, from being super just to super unjust.
Because through family, it comes in a little different way than through partners. Because the family was there when we were born, and they have actually helped instill the basic values. They are going even deeper than the partners, because, for our soul in this incarnation to actually address those topics from number of past lives that we had, they had to first map those.
Implement the decor.
Exactly.
So the family is setting the stage. So you can look at your family and you can look at it as what is the stage that they set for you.
And what is the set of laws that they programmed in order that you later have to deprogram them. So that's why it goes even deeper, because they programmed it in, it feels like reality. So these are most difficult to unprogram later. Like the family culture, how we communicate in a family, or do we even speak ever about emotions? In my family, nobody ever spoke about emotions. It wasn't something that's speakable about. So it took me years to understand that I can actually have words about emotions and share them, because we were just kind of putting things under the rug. That was our family culture. And it feels like, well, everybody must be like that. That's why it's so, these ones are very, very deep. So this is maybe the deepest level, that once that we deprogram those, we start gaining real freedom.
Mm-hmm. So the way you look at the family is they have planted the decor for your biggest issue, lifelong issue to transmute, your closest long-time relationships are actually reinforcing and pointing where exactly do you have to look. When you find the core, what everybody is in one or the other way triggering in you and telling you, so this is your goal for this life to transmute. And then short-term people around, family, friends, or even gatherings like this will be adding hints so that you can better see.
So if they are triggering in our sharing, this is also a beautiful sign
take it as
to
a
see
gift,
where is it pointing. Take it as a gift, exactly.
Because things are coming through us and we don't know exactly for whom and how, but they always land somewhere. So take it as a hint.
Well, yeah, often we have a little bit of an idea how we're going to share, but because somebody needs to hear it in a certain way, then it changes the direction where we end up going.
So in this way, we're beautiful messengers for each other, and we need each other. We need exchanges, we need sharings, we need groups, we need friends, and sometimes also people that we don't know because they are not emotionally engaged yet with us. So they are more transparent messengers. So do share with people that you don't know, and do engage with people that you haven't seen before, and just observe in a group what everybody else is talking about, and you can't be in the wrong place where topic is not relevant to you. So take even a remote information as something that does resonate with you, and look deeper.
So I will open it to some questions. I think we're almost there with our time, but let's see if there are some questions, clarifications, something that comes up based on this that we just shared. Yes, Miriam.
Such a beautiful sharing. Thank you, everyone. So many wise words. So grateful. What I was wondering is that when something feels unjust, for example, sometimes our bodies also gives us some aches or pains. How should we relate to that? Because if it feels uncomfortable, then sometimes you think, okay, it's not the right thing at the moment. But if it is a trigger, if it is a lesson, and you rather walk away from it, is that also to let it just be peace through everything, or?
That's a great question, Miriam. So the body,
I'll just relate, because it's very interesting. When you said that, I immediately saw the image of Buddha, you know, and we're entering in the sign of Taurus right now, which is a sign or linked to Buddha. And Buddha's main kind of principle is, can you sit by the roadside and 100,000 carts passing by, and you're just as peaceful as if you're sitting in the middle of a lotus pond in illumination. So where we're heading to is that nothing really matters. Nothing that's happening in the outside world has any impact on us, nor our bodies. So, but to get there, we have to respect that we do feel things in the body and in emotions. And this is our precious indicator. Okay, in order to get to that equanimity, well, nothing will ever bother you, you first have to see what is bothering you. Yeah. So everything that's triggering, literally, if you just give it a time, occasion, and stop and pause and bring it up, examine, ask for more signs, this is a fast forward movement to that equanimity when less and less things actually will matter or bother.
And body is a beautiful indicator. Body is literally like a map that is, if something is bothering you in a body, that means that it had been ignored for so long time while it wasn't in the body, that it had time to densify, and you say, okay, well, she's not hearing a message, so now it is densifying in the most sensitive part of the body, and now you can't ignore it. And if you still ignore it, well, then it gets even worse. And if you still ignore it, well, then it has to actually get to the deadly illness, so that you're quickly taken out, well, not you, so that a person is quickly taken out of this incarnation, so that they go through the cycle and come back. Because, you know, they needed to hear this message. If they're forgetting, well, the body is going to give up, and then you go through the incarnation. So the thing is paying attention to from where the body is speaking and what is the message that it's saying. It's super important, and it's a great indicator. And of course, how we get there is through, like everything else, through one option is through meditation, asking this densified energy in the body what it has to tell us. And if it's too impossible for a person to do it themselves, well, they can ask somebody who can reflect that back to them. What is it that their body is telling them? It's easy to find somebody who can actually read into that. Of course, beyond the medical explanations, because medical explanations will fill into the physical part of it, just body aspect of it, not actually understanding what is the spiritual cause behind that yet, until the medicine upgrades.
So Eleanor said to add to the family, changing, transforming the patterns and way of living. So that is true. When we try to change our mom, we better change ourselves, and the mom will go along, because mom is programmed to, you know, keep a repeated message to us. They're very constant. Moms and dads are very constant in beaming that same message. So when we get the message from what the family was kind of trying to tell us, and we acknowledge that we have actually chosen the family exactly the way it is, because we needed, you know, someone to set the stage. So when we retrieve that message, the messengers are not needed anymore, so they can go on with their lives. And that's where the family dynamics can change finally, when we have gotten the message, thanks to the messengers, and they're free to, you know, be themselves and do other things.
Yeah. Yeah, family as messengers. There is one more thing to be added here, and this is the traditional cultures, you know, like tribe-based cultures, for many, many centuries have had a rite of passage that was the rite of passage of, you know, from child to adult. From child to adulthood, the whole tribe would gather, and there would be a beautiful ceremony where there is the transformation moment for a person to go, and it's not from tomorrow anymore a child, and now it is an adult. And this process actually releases parents from being parents as function, and they become another tribe members that, of course, love their biological child, but they don't have anymore a function of being parents. In our Western society, we don't have this. So what we end up having to do is that we do this in the sessions.
Overgrown kids.
Well, literally, without that ritual, we are all bunch of adult kids, and we see it everywhere around. Everywhere that people are really stopped, that they're not serious. Like, look at the politicians. It's like a bunch of, you know, 8-year-olds, like the dude would say in Big Lebowski. 8-year-olds, dude. So it's really, we have to do this this ritual now artificially in a session, and this is amazingly relieving for both the person who does the ritual and for their parents, without them even knowing why it's all of a sudden so much easier. But this is one way to improve the relationship with your parents, is to go through the ritual of transmutation of the parent energy, where you literally detach from that function and allow your parents to stop having an obligation to you to do the function of parenting you anymore. Amazing things happen. What we see as results, all of a sudden there is a communication again, there's lightness. It's really, really, really amazing. Any other questions? And Anna knows that, because Anna was in one of these rituals with us. Mhm.
Well, either everything is super clear or nothing is clear at all.
Is it similar to family constellation? Well, this ritual is not family constellation in itself. Family constellation, and we have Miriam here, who is the specialist in family constellation. Family constellation examines the energy, the collective energy of what had happened between a certain group of people and maybe a family, maybe some other group of energies that are selected. And literally, well, a transformation does happen through this. But what I'm talking about is a ritual of purposefully doing the transmutation ritual from childhood to adulthood. So it is very specifically targeted to release this particular energy. Family constellation reveals some deeper entanglements between the members of the family, and it's not necessarily so directly connected to this one topic. Mm-hmm. Which age? What? I don't understand. Did you say what age? Nat, what do you mean?
Shall I unmute? Is that easier?
Yeah, we hear you.
I guess I'm going through my fascinating journey of what you're talking about with my own parents,
Mm-hmm.
but also being a mother in the same instance.
Mm-hmm.
And I keep having this feeling that I'm supposed to give a detachment to my kids quicker than I grasped it from mine.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't know if there's a specific age, you know,
Absolutely.
is 11 too young? But I feel this need to push him away, not because, and I do try to articulate it. I don't know if I over articulate it to his young mind, but I'm trying to reassure him that I love him, I have his back, but he needs to not need me so much, because I've come back and witnessed the dynamics of my relationship with my parents. I was an only child, so we're reliving this dynamic, and I feel this push to stop trying to get their attention like a 5-year-old. You're a grown woman now, it's enough.
Yeah. Beautiful question, Nat. And there is absolutely an age. So Elia will share about her kids.
So I have 2 daughters, and they're now 18 and almost 16. And I had the same extreme clarity when the oldest daughter turned 15. I felt like, okay, this is something special, and then looked it up, and I found in many cultures that 15 is really a specific age for girls to take on their, you know, future journey as a women. And we did a beautiful ceremony for my for my daughter, where actually I consciously released her from my patterns, so she doesn't have to keep continuing my patterns or my journey or reflecting anything at all, that she can be a free and sovereign young girl and build actually her womanhood out of her own ingredients and her own path. And I retrieve consciously my imprint on her. And the ceremony was very beautiful and meaningful and impactful for the rest of her life. And she turned out to actually have a different spin on her own from then on. So in many traditions, 14 and 15 is the age where children are able to emotionally sustain themselves and start building their own little aura and opinion and view of the world. And more they are given space. So I would say from 11 to 14, you can just give your child more space. They can't really make it at the age of 11 because they've not been around on earth for long enough to even, you know, have something of their own. But in that period from 11 to 14, giving space to a child and giving them opportunities and many things to see, many different opinions to choose from, will actually build that emotional stability and freedom for their lives, so that they can detach fully at 14, 15.
So not yet, Nat. 11 is a little early.
Yeah.
Yeah, perfect. But thank you. It was a great opportunity to reflect on that. So
Yeah.
Voila. So that's about it for today. If the topic was so clear that we don't have to dwell in it anymore, then next week we go to something else. Or if you want to hear more, drop us a line, and we can examine other aspects of reflective reality from whichever angle you feel interested.
Yeah, it's a big topic. Eventually, we will have a training in it on some kind.
Yes, Lisa.
I do have a question. Thank you for the reflective reality. I watched a astrology fellow. Thank you so much, Eve, for sending that through. Who talked about alignments, and he's got these snippets that go through, you know, from 2017, 20 blah blah blah. That it's like, wow, that's really interesting. And he was saying a couple of years ago about 2020, all of it, you know, all of what's going on, it's virtually come out of his mouth years ago. And one of the things that came up was with the planetary alignments, we've had exactly the same planetary alignments back when they were burning witches. And when Evia was saying, oh, you know, I've been burnt at the stake and head sliced off, and it's like, okay, so reflective reality with regards to planetary alignment, if we're actually coming up to we're in a period of time where there is potentially a stage being set for that kind of a reality to manifest. I don't know that I would like my reflective reality at this point being that metaphoric witch that gets burnt at the stake. So how to be navigating through this current reality with the greater human family.
So you see what, in my example, I really dwell very deep in that sense of justice and why it keeps coming back. And of course, you're right. It's again the same setting for everyone who is saying the truth. They are literally sticking their heads out to be cut, yeah, even now in this freedom. So except that having transcended the sense of justice allows me to stick my head out and have it been chopped, for maybe that one word has inspired someone somewhere, and it doesn't matter that it took my head to get a message across, right? So it doesn't matter to me anymore whether my head will be chopped off or not for saying the truth, because I'm over any justice to having to be there at all. Yeah. So thus I'm creating the field where maybe my head will not be the first one to stick out, or it will, you know, I will avoid the situation altogether because it will not be relevant anymore. I will not magnetize the injustice to me personally, right? So this is how you can navigate it. If you release the concept that attracts this kind of situation to you, well, then how would it come to you? It has nothing to reflect.
Exactly. So two things here. One, and it connects to this that Evia is saying, eventually when we detach from any of our attachments, well, one of the worst fears is fear of death. This is what most people feel. And once that we really detach from this, another is the fear of pain. So it's both are dealing with attachments to the body. So who dies? The body dies. The actual energy that is behind the animating of the body doesn't die. But, you know, this is carefully hidden so that we don't know it. So first, equanimity is to dying or not, because it doesn't matter. Because then we continue in another incarnation and without the physical body and so forth. And if you need to upgrade yourself to the level that you really have experiential knowledge about how it is to be outside of the body, well, that's maybe on your journey to get there. So to understand, from one of my past life regressions, I have seen I was about to be hanged, and I just jumped my energetic body out of the physical body, and I laughed about the whole group of people that are looking in this fear about this guy that is going to be hanged. And I laughed, and I wish to say to all these people, it's not a big deal, guys. Who cares? This is like just manipulation method that they're scaring you by, using the threat of your own death of the body. So however you need, whatever you need to do to get to the place where you don't care whether you survive or not, would hugely liberate you. It's one thing. And another thing that your question implies is how to find, we said we cannot really, we cannot wake up huge amount of people at the same time. But what we can do is find those acupuncture spots of people who are at that level that you can communicate with and have meaningful conversations, and that can uplift your soul and you uplift theirs. And if we can make this network of people connect even like this within the Zoom, then all of a sudden you don't care who was in your line for groceries, because you have the group of people to share on this level through Zoom. Or however, maybe later we will do it in a physical way, but you have your own tribe that is not necessarily anymore kind of non-existent, and you feel like an island. So these are these two things that come from your question.
Well, it was more a question about the like with you, of course, the astrologers that see all of these, and these, like you do bring into the tea parties, these astrological meanings behind what is going on, and it's finding or not even being comfortable with my place, but it's almost like, do I need to be predicting this? Why does it matter that I'm predicting this? Why do I need to be looking at planetary alignments?
Yeah. It's just to explain, just to give you an explanation of what is going on. That's it. You need to know where is gonna beam, where this energy will be beaming in your chart or in everybody's chart, so you understand why everybody is going crazy or why everybody is scared all of a sudden, because it's a theme for humanity that they'll be going through, and it's so easy, it's all written there. So that's why we mentioned that we're entering, for example, now the little period of Taurus, which is Buddha, which is equanimity, which is body, which is money structures. So it gives us a explanation of what is the stage set for transforming what globally, on planetary level and on individual level. That's it. It doesn't have a meaning of itself. It's not a prediction. It depends on how we will react through it. That's it. It's a stage, and then you act in it.
And another thing that's important there is, those planets are really, if you look at them, like your body is your body. The next level of your body is your home. But the next level of your body is your planet and your immediate planetary neighborhood, because these are huge sources of electromagnetic and all different kinds of vibrations that co-work with your body. So it's literally, you can look at these planets as your extended body. And in a really aligned and a really enlightened version of yourself, you don't have to predict anything. You feel these feelings as your innate senses. But because we are so detached from that level of looking, then we look technically where the planets are, and then we start to interpret it. But really, if you meditated enough with energies of the planets, you would feel it really as your parts of the body. Many people feel moon, for example, because it shifts the bodies of water here and there. Then you start feeling it in your body, and you feel it directly. Well, the same is true with all other planets. But anyway, that's the topic of astrology being part of our body. But okay, I think we are running out of time a little. So
one more question. Your opinion when we're talking about the astrology parts of body connection, what do you think about the comets? that is coming? How is it influencing everything?
But
Atlas
it's
comet.
really coming. Do we know that they're coming? You know, the smaller the body, the less of an influence it is. So the proportion of the influence is how big this body is and how sensitive you are to receive that vibration. So planets will have more influence than comets normally.
Comets have a predefined trajectory, but it can deviate if consciousness on the planet has something to experience. Then comets are these wild cards passing through and bringing another energy. That's it. So they can come very close or very far. It's unpredictable until the moment where the energies are set for that.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, guys, we're very beautiful to have you. Thank you for the amazing questions and for the field that you co-create here with us. It's really such pleasure. I feel such beautiful sharing, and I feel really, really beautiful in my heart to see you all and feel you all.
And thank you for those who joined us first time, Uwe and Amber
And Claire
and Claire.
and Nat. Hopefully we will see your face also next time. This is really what warms me up to hear all your beautiful faces.
Thank you, and take what resonates, leave everything else, and reflect on it, and I'll see you next week.
Yes.
Thank you. There's lots I can take away. Thank you.
Thank you. See you guys.
Ciao, ciao.
See you.
Thank you.
Bye.
Bye.